Hello and welcome back. Isn't it funny that we learn so many important facts at school and yet so little on how to deal with life in general, for instance on how to cope with our emotions? Yet, though we seemingly act rationally, we are driven by our emotions, like it or not. So where do we learn to deal with them? Basically, the learning process starts on the day we are born in our families. The way we are built, we learn from those around us by copying what we see and experience. In fact, a lot of my clients are amazed at how much the decisions they make today are influenced by the way they were raised way back. A mother I spoke to recently told me that she was unable to cope with the stress of disagreement with her husband because her own mother had always emphasized how important it is that the family is a place where everybody lives in perfect harmony and without any conflicts. It turned out that her mother had always paid the price for this harmony, though, in that she never disagreed to anything her father said. At the same time, the mother suffered and became a sad and bitter person over the years, because she ended up ignoring her own feelings and needs. What also happened is that her daughter, my client, was unable to look upon a conflict as something natural and unable to develop strategies to resolve them in a positive way. I don't think anybody would come up with the idea that all of us always share the same needs and interests. Differences are bound to happen sooner or later, and depending on how good or bad we are able to resolve them, has a major impact on our lives. The good news is, even if we did not learn as children, we can do so later on, if and when we choose to. Doing so within our family is particularly challenging, of course, because we lack emotional distance. As children, we are dependent on our parents. As we grow old, we in return may be dependent on our children. And the emotional patterns running within our family often get in the way of resolving conflicts in a good way. The hurt we feel is deeper if we feel neglected, for instance, and therefore the way we may lash out in hurt is more emotional also. We may see what is going wrong in other families without any problems whatsoever and be able to give them good advice. But at the same time, we feel utterly lost and blind towards the issues within our own families, quite often because we are afraid to look at them and lose the people who are closest and therefore most important to us. As children, we grow up learning from our parents and others around us who spend a lot of time with us or who we admire. We do so without reflecting, because when we are young, we perceive our parents as perfect role models, and we don't have the knowledge to distinguish and decide what is good for us and what not. Later on, we follow the patterns we know without even thinking about them, because they feel normal, even if they turn out to be harmful for us. One point in time where a lot of us start reflecting is when we have children of our own. Of course, we want them to be happy and help them to grow up to be healthy adults. But all of a sudden, we realize that we have learned very little about how to go about this major task. If we are lucky, we may have role models here as well, but quite often we don't, and this creates a lot of uncertainty. Also, a lot of things which were seen as the way to raise a child when we were small are looked upon as inappropriate now. For instance, not too long ago, blind obedience was expected of children, and to achieve it, punishment was widely accepted as being an appropriate tool. Children were looked upon as being ill-minded or wrong if they wanted something different from their parents, and the idea was to show them their boundaries and, if necessary, to use force to show them what was right and wrong. Then, ideas on children having a right to their own personality came up. We were told that punishing children is harmful and will not bring forward strong individuals able to live a good and happy life. So some of us ended up being anti-authoritarian, instead leaving children to do as they liked, without giving them any sort of boundaries. Not surprisingly, the results were not favourable either. Quite often, those children took control of family life. All of a sudden, they were in charge. And of course, they did not have the skills to deal with this task. And so the search went on. To me, one of the people who came up with really good ideas was Jesper Juul, a Danish family therapist who sadly passed away recently. To him, the key was relationship between parents and their children. Parents should be loving role models and actually not afraid to take the lead, because that is what children need. At the same time, parents should go about leading in a respectful way and without claiming to be perfect, knowing that children also learn from us when we make mistakes. They will perceive how we deal with them and with the frustrations we encounter in our own lives. Jesper Juul also said, children do not require boundaries, but instead they require parents who have boundaries. It is perfectly all right to say no to a child, and a clear no can be the most loving thing to pass on. Having said that, a lot of parents have problems saying no because they perceive a no as something negative. Of course, there will be a lot of situations, however, where children want something different than their parents. If we become parents knowing this, we will not look upon conflicts as something so terrible and unusual. In this situation, both parents and children will be frustrated. Jesper Juul said, and in my opinion, rightfully so, that children do not have the means to deal with frustration yet, whilst parents, who have been on this earth longer, should have. Having said that, if parents are not clear about their set of values, and if they have not learned well to deal with their own frustrations when they were young, of course the process of resolving the conflict in a good way can be a very painful one for all family members. But these are also great starting points for any parent in need of better solutions. There is no perfect way out of every conflict and no perfect solution there, because every child and every parent is different and unique. But knowing yourself and your boundaries as a parent can be a great guideline to help you find good solutions. Musically speaking, I perceive a family as an orchestra, with different members playing different instruments. The parents are the conductors, leading the orchestra respectfully and mindfully, with the aim of creating common good for everybody. And in an orchestra, the result would be a beautiful piece of music. Today's song is called Give 'Em Love and describes a lot of situations where parents may feel helpless at first. As a family counselor, I can assure you there are solutions there, because all children want to be a respected part of their family. And if they are shown a way to get there, they will happily follow it. So wishing you all the best in dealing with all of the little and the big issues in family life. And to answer my question, is family life heaven or hell? Well, nobody wants hell. So you may want to start reflecting on your values and on your relationships should you have issues with your parents or your children. But at the same time, don't expect ongoing heaven. Conflicts are normal to all relationships, and they offer a wonderful learning experience if they are resolved in a good and healthy way. Wishing you all the best, and goodbye for today. Oh, mother dear, we sadly fear our mittens we have lost. Lost your mittens, you naughty little kittens, then you shall have no pie.
Mother dear, see here, our mittens we have found. Found your mittens, you good little kittens, then you shall have some pie.